Hi there guys, it's Lay here from MB Custom Lures. We recently did a trip to Eastern Fields with the Sport Fishing PNG crew, and it's a liveaboard trip aboard K2O, which is quite a nice mothership. So first things first, Papua New Guinea is located a couple hours flight from Australia, north of Australia, and it's pretty much on the equator. It's you fly into Port Moresby, and as soon as you land at the airport, you go through customs, pick up your bags. There'll be someone from the PNG, Sport Fishing PNG crew there to pick you up and take you straight to the guest house. So one of my concerns fishing PNG was the safety side of it, and at no time did we feel that we were in any sort of trouble at all. We pretty much went from the airport to the guest house to K2O, and we were only in Port Moresby for a few hours when we came in and when we left to go back to the airport. So the guest house, once you get into Port Moresby, you go to the guest house and you give them your security deposit, which is returned at the end of the trip, $300 per angler in Australian dollars. And after that, after all that's sorted, and also at the guest house, it's pretty warm over in PNG. At the guest house, there's cold beers, soft drinks, water, some fruit and food, and etc. So it's quite nice when you get there. It's air conditioned as well, and there's Wi-Fi as well. After that, they load all the gear onto K2O, and it's only about 5-minute drive from the guest house. And that afternoon we go to K2O, which is fairly decent sized, 60 to 70 foot aluminium catamaran. Really comfortable boat, beautiful inside. Sleeping wise, there's 2 staterooms up the top, which have queen or king size beds with your own ensuite. That's an optional upgrade for anyone who wants it for $1,000. And then the anglers sleep down in a bunk arrangement. So 2 anglers per room with upper and lower bunks. The rooms are pretty cramped if you want to store any gear, but to sleep in, yeah, they're perfectly fine. There's plenty of room on the boat to put all your gear. And each 4 anglers have their own bathroom and toilet, and there's also an extra toilet on the back deck as well. Food wise, we organised any alcohol that we wanted before the trip, and basically anything you wanted, they sorted it all out. And when you're on the boat, it's very organised how they chill. They always have chilled drinks on board, soft drinks, all you can drink, and water, and name tags with your beers on them, so you can keep a track of how much you've got left. Now food wise, this is a big one. I've been on quite a few trips, liveaboards and lodge arrangements. Now the food on this trip is prepared by a proper chef of Papua New Guinean descent, and he's a proper chef. He really does a fantastic job cooking. We had everything from fried rice with chicken Maryland, crispy chicken Maryland cuts, to lobster pasta. We had simple stuff like sashimi, but the food was absolutely fantastic. Definitely one of the highlights of the trip. And trip-wise, you could almost call this a fishing holiday, not a fishing trip, because the mothership K2O was just super comfortable, and the food was really top notch on a fishing trip. Probably the best food I've had on a fishing trip. So the boats that we fish aboard at this time, which was April 2018, they had two roughly 25-foot center console panga boats with 150 horsepower 4-stroke Yamahas. Two of those. And as far as fishing goes, those boats have approximately 10 to 14 rod holders. So you can't bring every rod that you desire. It comfortably fishes 3 people, and good seating arrangement on the boat as well. Now these panga boats are not offshore boats, so they're not as comfortable as, say, a dedicated offshore rig, but they get the job done. And then there's another 2 traditional sort of smaller long boats powered by 40 horsepower 2-stroke Yamahas, and quite a safe, very seaworthy rig, but again, not an offshore boat, and at no time did we feel like we were in danger, but definitely got the job done, and was fantastic to cast out of as well, and jig. Guides. So there are 2 Papua New Guinean guides, and they've been trained up. They're all local fishermen, and they weren't bad. They knew their stuff, and each guide specialized in certain things. One was great with yellowfin, the other one was great with jigging. The 2 experienced guides were Jed and Cameron. These guys have guided around the world, and they're top notch. They really bent over backwards to get us our target species, and Cameron, he specializes in topwater doggies, so everyone wanted him all the time. But the guides were fantastic, and the whole crew, in fact, 8 crew to 9 anglers, we were looked after very well. Now, Eastern Fields itself. The structure at Eastern Fields is quite interesting. There is no structure coming out of the water except at very, very low tide. So it's basically a 20-mile ring of reef, and the reef comes out of very deep water. So the drop off from the reef drops off to 1, 2, 3 plus 100 meters really quickly. So it's almost like a seamount arrangement in 110 nautical miles off Port Moresby. Also, one thing I forgot is that if you've ever been seasick at all, the 10-hour steam from Port Moresby to Eastern Fields at night, if the weather is at all bad, Make sure you take any seasick medication early, because pretty much everyone felt queasy on the run out. Just that first run out is just horrendous for seasickness. Half of our crew was down and out. Only one or two of our crew actually had dinner. The rest of us were just wrecked from having the mothership and our peripherals rocking around all night. It was just not pleasant. So make sure you keep up with your meds for the run out. The rest of the trip was pretty good. So structure wise, yeah, there's more than enough reef to fish for the 6 days you're there, and you could easily not fish the same patch of reef twice, pending weather. So casting wise, I wouldn't bring anything less than PE3. There's plenty of trout, jobfish, smaller trevally, all the typical reef dwellers are all there, and they're great fun on PE3, PE4, using sort of like 140mm stick baits. You'll have a pretty good time. Also on the casting front, there's the big GTs are there, but it's not a big GT location, so there's no real point bringing anything heavier than a PE8 popping or stick baiting rod. But whatever you bring, wouldn't really recommend a 14K or a 5,000 size reel, because the likelihood of hooking a 50+ kilo dog tooth on top water is actually pretty good, and line capacity could be an issue. Also, Eastern Fields is renowned for being windy at times, so if you bring a lot of erratic floating lures, they might spend more time in your tackle bag. So I would recommend suspending lures, suspending stick baits mostly, and also fast sinking stick baits with the occasional floater in there as well. Colors wise, because you are fishing on a reef edge and the reef drops extremely quickly, I recommend darker colors with some flash. We definitely found the darker colors work really well. Jigging wise, we'll start on the light end. On the light end, micro jigs. The micro jigging was mental. We caught everything on micro jigs, even wrasse. There's nothing out there that won't eat a micro jig. We got a 20 kilo GT on a micro jig. So micro jigging, PE3 is about good. And then basically you also get the opportunity to jig certain spots for wrasse, which you may need something like a PE6 outfit, which won't get used very much. Jigging roughly 100 gram jigs for the wrasse and other mixed species. And then for the doggies, you want a PE8 to 10, probably more a PE8, but you want a reel with plenty of line capacity, 80 pound to 100 pound, or lots of capacity. Jigs wise, you're generally jigging 80 meters, jigging from the bottom, or the doggies sit mid water, or roughly 100 meters down in 300 plus meters of water. So doggies are just sitting there, and you just dump half your spool about 150 meters of line, and you jig back up through the doggies, which are out there feeding on rainbow runner and other bait fish. Jig wise, I would say a minimum of 200 if the current's light. I found that 250s worked best, 300s as well, and when the doggies were down there and the current was strong, if I had 400s, I would have jigged them as well. Jig wise, the guides recommended using longer slim jigs, not so much your classic short sort of butterfly style jigs, because apparently the sharks just hit them on the drop and you just lose a bulk amount of jigs. I used long jigs the whole time, and I think I lost one jig for the whole trip. The week before we got there, Mark Harris landed a 81 kilo dogtooth on jig. So the possibility of getting these really good fish on jig is actually really good. But having said that, I just touch on the top water again. It's actually easier to get a dog tooth at Eastern Fields on top water than it is on jigs. We connected with 3 50+ kilo dog tooth on top water, and it's a hell of a sight. Unfortunately, we didn't land any, but as far as top water dog tooth locations go, this one should be near the top of your list, if not on the top of your list. Also, Eastern Fields is really kind of like a mixed species sort of location. You go to some places to catch one species of fish, but when you come here, when you hook up, you just don't know what you're hooked up to until you land it. There's everything there, from wrasse to trout to jobfish to doggies to GTs to rosy jobfish. It's all there. Everything's there. Weather-wise, Eastern Fields tends to be windy most of the time, and you will definitely get wet whilst traveling on the open boats. Also, that makes it very unfriendly for drones. If you were thinking about bringing one, you might want to reconsider. But that's basically the wrap up of my trip to Eastern Fields with the Sport Fishing PNG crew. Definitely if you were thinking about going there, I could recommend it. The highlights were the K2O, the food, and the topwater doggies. Just those doggies. Yeah, I'll be back again for that. So cheers for watching. If you've got any questions, just drop them on the comments below if I've missed anything, and I'll be sure to get back to you.